Think your mechanic's looking out for you? Think again. Keeping your bike in top shape is easier than they want you to know. Here are 20 maintenance hacks they hope you never learn. Number 20. Brake rotors don't need replacing just because they look worn. Motorcycle shops love to tell you that your brake rotors need replacing as soon as they look a little worn or develop minor grooves. But in reality, rotors are designed to last a long time, and a bit of wear is completely normal. The real thing you need to concern yourself with is your rotor's thickness. Each rotor has a minimum thickness stamped on it, usually around 4 to 5 millimeters for most bikes. As long as it's above that limit and isn't warped, you don't need to replace it. If your rotors have deep scoring or an uneven surface, resurfacing them with light sanding or a brake rotor hone can restore performance without the cost of new ones. Unless you feel a pulsation in the brake lever or notice serious wear, don't let a mechanic talk you into replacing them prematurely. Number 19. No need for overpriced chain lubes. Motorcycle chain maintenance is important, but you don't need to spend a fortune on fancy chain lubes. Many of the high-end products you find in stores are just repackaged versions of cheaper alternatives. Instead of paying extra for branding, a good quality 90-weight gear oil does the job just as well, if not better. It provides excellent lubrication, keeps the chain from drying out, and helps prevent premature wear. Some riders prefer used motor oil, but that's not the best idea since it can contain metal particles and contaminants that might do more harm than good. Stick to fresh gear oil, apply it lightly, and wipe off your excess to prevent buildup. Your chain will last longer, your ride will feel smoother, and your wallet will thank you. Number 18. Chain tension doesn't need constant adjustment. Some riders obsess over chain tension, tightening it at the first sign of slack. But chains naturally stretch over time, and over-tightening can do more harm than good, putting excess stress on the sprockets and bearings. A little bit of slack is actually good. It allows for suspension movement and prevents unnecessary strain. Instead of adjusting it constantly, check your manual for the proper play, usually around 1 to 1.5 inches. A good rule of thumb? If the chain isn't slapping against the swing arm and the bike rides smoothly, you're probably fine. Adjust only when it's genuinely loose, not just because you think you should. Number 17. Brake fluid doesn't need to be changed as often as mechanics claim. Brake fluid is one of those things that mechanics often tell you to replace more frequently than necessary. While fresh fluid is essential for safety, the truth is, unless you're pushing your bike to its limits on the track or riding in extreme conditions, you probably don't need to change it every year. Most manufacturers recommend swapping it out every 2 years under normal riding conditions. The key is to check the fluid regularly. If it looks dark or cloudy, it's time for a change. But if it's still clear and at the proper level, you're probably good to go. Just keep an eye on your brake performance. If you notice a spongy feel or a drop in stopping power, that's a sign you should flush it out sooner rather than later. Number 16. You don't always need a professional to sync your throttle bodies. If your motorcycle runs rough, idles unevenly, or feels sluggish, a mechanic might suggest a throttle body sync. While they'll charge you a hefty fee for it, syncing your own throttle bodies is easier than most people think. All you need is a sync tool, either a set of vacuum gauges or a digital synchronizer, and some patience. The goal is to adjust the throttle bodies so they pull the same amount of vacuum, ensuring smooth power delivery. The process is straightforward. Hook up the gauges, adjust the screws until the readings match, and enjoy a smoother running engine. Unless your bike is severely out of sync, this isn't something you need to do often. But when the time comes, learning to do it yourself saves money and gives you better control over your bike's performance. Number 15. Stop wasting money on special motorcycle cleaning products. Walk into any motorcycle shop and you'll see shelves full of fancy cleaning products, each promising to keep your bike looking brand new. But here's the thing, you don't need any of them. Most of what they can do can be achieved with simple household items. Dish soap and warm water works just as well as specialized bike shampoos for general cleaning. A mix of vinegar and water makes a great streak-free solution for your visor or windscreen. Need a degreaser? A combination of baking soda and dish soap cuts through grime just as well as the expensive stuff. Even WD-40 can be used in place of certain cleaning sprays to remove stubborn dirt from your rims and engine components. Of course, some parts of your bike, like the chain, do require proper lubrication, but for general cleaning, save your money. A little DIY effort will keep your bike just as spotless without draining your wallet. Number 14. A simple toothbrush can make it easier to clean your chains. Your motorcycle chain collects a ton of grime. Dirt, dust, and old lube all mix together to create a sticky mess that can wear down your sprockets. You could buy a fancy chain cleaning tool, but a good old toothbrush works just as well. With its stiff bristles and small size, a toothbrush can reach into all the tight spots of your chain, scrubbing away buildup without making a mess. Just dip it in some degreaser or kerosene and work it into the links. For even better results, Take 2 brushes, tape them together in a V shape, and run the chain through them. It's a cheap, effective way to keep your chain clean, and best of all, you probably already have an old toothbrush lying around. Number 13, Anti-Seize saves you from costly repairs. If you've ever struggled to remove a bolt that's rusted solid, you know how frustrating and expensive it can be. That's where Anti-Seize comes in. It's a simple trick that can save you from broken bolts and headaches down the road. A small dab of Anti-Seize on threads before installing bolts, especially on exhaust studs, axles, or spark plugs, prevents them from fusing due to heat and corrosion. This means that the next time you need to remove them, they'll come out smoothly instead of snapping off and turning into a nightmare repair job. Just be careful. Anti-Seize reduces friction, which means bolts can be over-tightened more easily. If you're using it, adjust your torque settings accordingly. A little bit goes a long way, but that little bit can make all the difference when it's time for maintenance. Plus, it'll save you a trip to the mechanic and a few $100s. Number 12, coolant flushes are easier than they seem. A lot of riders avoid flushing their coolant because it sounds like a complicated job, but it's actually one of the easiest maintenance tasks you can do. Shops will charge you anywhere from around $100 to $150 for it. But with a little time and the right tools, you can do it yourself and save a chunk of cash. All you really need is a drain pan, fresh coolant, and some distilled water. First, locate your drain bolt usually at the bottom of the radiator or water pump, remove it, and let the old coolant drain completely. Then, flush the system with distilled water to remove any leftover residue. Once that's done, fill it up with new coolant, bleed out any air bubbles, and you're good to go. No need for expensive coolant flush kits or a trip to the shop. Just a little patience and a few simple steps. 11. Always remember to replace your wheel bearings so they don't fail. Wheel bearings don't get much attention, but if they fail, they can turn a smooth ride into a dangerous wobble. The problem is, they don't always give you obvious warning signs. Sometimes they feel fine until they suddenly seize up or start making a grinding noise. The trick is to check them regularly, especially if you ride in wet or dirty conditions. If your wheels feel rough when spun, have excessive play, or make odd noises, it's time to swap them out. Replacement bearings are cheap, and changing them is easier than most people think. A few basic tools and a little patience are all you need. Don't wait until they completely fail. A small bit of maintenance now can prevent a big problem later and give you an idea of when to change it. Number 10, you don't always need a shop for tire changes. Tire changes can be pricey, especially if you take your bike to a dealership. But if you're willing to put in a little effort, you can swap them yourself and save a good chunk of money. All you need is some tire irons, rim protectors, and a way to break the bead. This can be done with a dedicated bead breaker or even a makeshift setup using a C-clamp or a car's weight. Once the bead is broken, carefully work the tire off with the irons, making sure not to scratch your rim. Mounting the new tire takes a bit of patience. With some soapy water and the right technique, it's totally doable. And if balancing it seems tricky, there are plenty of DIY methods, like the static balance stand, that work just as well as the professional setup. Number 9, most fork seal leaks aren't real leaks. Not every bit of oil on your fork tubes means your seals are blown. Sometimes dirt gets trapped under the seal, causing a little seepage that looks like a leak. Before spending money on a full replacement, try cleaning them first. A quick fix is using a seal cleaning tool like a Sealmate, or even a thin piece of plastic like a cut-up soda bottle. Just slide it carefully between the fork and tube and the seal, and then work it around in a circular motion. This helps remove any grit that might be causing the leak. After that, pump the forks a few times, wipe off any excess oil, and check again. In many cases, the leak disappears, saving you from unnecessary and expensive fork rebuild. Number 8, your air filter can last longer than you think. Mechanics often recommend changing your air filter at specific intervals, but in reality, it depends on how and where you ride. If you stick to clean roads, your filters might last way longer than they claim. Instead of replacing it outright, check it first. It might just need a good cleaning. For reusable filters, a quick wash and re-oil can make them as good as new. Even disposable paper filters can sometimes be cleaned with light compressed air or tapping out loose debris. Unless it's torn, heavily clogged, or damaged, you don't always need a new one. A little maintenance can extend its life, saving you money while keeping your engine running smoothly. Number 7, engine oil doesn't need changing as often as mechanics say. You've probably heard the old rule, change your oil every 3,000 miles. But modern motorcycles and high-quality oils have changed the game. Unless you're riding under extreme conditions, you can usually go much longer between oil changes without any issues. Check your owner's manual. Many manufacturers recommend intervals of 5,000, 7,500, or even 10,000 miles, depending on the bike and the oil type. The key is to monitor the oil's condition. If it looks excessively dark and gritty or smells burnt, it's time for a change. Riding habits matter too. Short trips where the engine doesn't fully warm up can lead to faster oil degradation. But if you're doing regular highway miles, you can stretch out those intervals without harming your engine. Number 6, you don't always need to replace your spark plugs. Mechanics love to suggest new spark plugs at every tune-up. But the truth is, they last much longer than many people think. Standard copper plugs can go 10,000 to 15,000 miles, while iridium or platinum plugs can last 40,000 miles or more. Instead of blindly replacing them, check them first. If the electrode isn't worn down and the bike is running fine, there's no need for a swap. A simple cleaning with a wire brush can remove carbon buildup and keep them working like new. Of course, if you're experiencing rough idling, misfires, or poor fuel economy, then fresh plugs might be the fix. But don't let a mechanic convince you to replace them just because it's been a certain number of miles. Number 5, over-tightening your oil drain plug can cost you big. If there's one thing you don't want to mess up during an oil change, it's the drain plug. Over-tightening might seem like a good way to prevent leaks, but it can actually lead to a much bigger problem: stripped threads or a cracked oil pan. And if that happens, you're looking at an expensive repair. The trick is to always follow the recommended torque specs. If you don't have a torque wrench, tighten it just enough so that it's snug. No need to crank it down like you're securing a car wheel. A fresh crush washer also helps create a good seal without needing excessive force. If you ever do strip the threads, don't panic. A thread repair kit or a helicoil insert can fix it without replacing the entire oil pan. But ideally, you won't need to worry about that. Just go easy on the plug in the first place. Number 4, avoiding ethanol fuel can prevent future headaches. Ethanol-blended fuels like the E10 you find at most pumps can cause issues in motorcycles, especially older models or bikes that sit for long periods. Ethanol attracts moisture, which can lead to fuel system corrosion, clogged injectors, and degraded rubber seals. Whenever possible, use ethanol-free fuel, often labeled as pure gas or recreational fuel, to avoid these problems. If that's not an option, adding a fuel stabilizer can help prevent ethanol-related damage. It's especially important if your bike sits during winter. Draining the fuel system or running non-ethanol gas before storage can save you from a rough startup and costly repairs when riding season returns. Number 3, clutch cables last longer with simple maintenance. If your clutch starts feeling stiff or rough, most people assume the cable is on its way out. But before you replace it, a little maintenance can often bring it back to life. Over time, dirt and grime build up inside the cable housing, making it harder to pull. A quick fix is to use a cable lubricator tool and spray some lubricant inside the housing, working the lever back and forth to distribute it evenly. This simple step can make the clutch feel smooth again without the cost of a new cable. Adjusting cable slack properly also extends its life. Too much tension puts unnecessary stress on the cable and clutch components. A properly adjusted and well-lubricated cable can last years longer than one that's neglected. Number 2, don't fall for the battery dies every 2 years myth. A lot of people believe motorcycle batteries are only good for 2 years before they inevitably die. But with proper care, you can get 4, 5, or even 6 years out of one. The key is maintenance. Most batteries die early because of neglect, letting them sit for months without charging, exposing them to extreme temperatures, or constantly letting them drain too low. If you ride regularly, your battery will stay healthy longer. But if your bike sits for long periods, invest in a trickle charger to keep it topped up. Another tip: check the terminals every now and then. Corrosion can build up, weakening the connection and making your bike harder to start. A quick clean with baking soda and water keeps everything in top shape. So don't believe the 2-year rule. Treat your battery right and it'll last way longer than you expect. Number 1, torque wrenches are your best friend. One of the most common causes of stripped threads, broken bolts, and over-tightened components is simply guessing how tight something should be. While many riders rely on feel, a torque wrench takes out the guesswork and ensures bolts are tightened correctly every time. Using the right torque specs, especially on critical parts like axle nuts, drain plugs, and engine covers, prevents damage and keeps everything secure. It also helps avoid issues like warping brake rotors or crushing gaskets due to over-tightening. A good torque wrench isn't expensive, and it's one of the best investments you can make for DIY maintenance. It saves money by preventing costly repairs and gives you confidence that every bolt is tightened just right. Knowing these few DIY tips will help your bike last longer and will save you tons of money, so make sure you take them seriously. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to stay up to date on our latest posts.